Welcome to the True Man Podcast. This is an invitation to radical reconstruction of a man's masculine heart and soul in a place of safe community where we dare to ask questions deep seated inside a man and explore ways to help you become a better man, a better son, a better dad, and a better spouse. And isn't that why we're all here today, to be better men? Who doesn't want that in their lives? How are you? How is everything going in your world? I hope well. I hope well. The glass is always half full when you're doing things with God, right? Right? I hope that's true for you as we head down and count the days left in March. Where did this month go? Good grief. Been a lot of activity in my house and more to come over the next few weeks on that. As boy, do I have a story for you folks to whet your appetite down the road. I'll just give you a hint. This True Man community here, background, if you're watching this on video, if you're hearing this, the studio, let's just say, is going, True Man World Headquarters is going to be making a move. Yeah, more on that in the very, very near future. But you know what? All you need to do is grab your iPhone and flip on Apple or Spotify or whatever you're listening to this on, and boom, there I am. So it doesn't matter to you. It directly affects me, though. That I can tell you. So, but it's great to have you no matter where I'm doing the show. I sure appreciate you being here. And listen, if you enjoy the True Man podcast, just grab your phone right now. All you need to do is just grab the podcast that you're listening to and forward it on to a buddy. Make it part of your men's small group. And if you want to learn more about what I'm doing in the True Man community, just go out to my website, truemanlifecoaching.com. If you're looking for a speaker online or in person, you can check out some of my material there. I really love talking and spend a lot of my time talking about the power of asking for help and all the things that surround that. Boy, so many of us in life, we try to take on everything all by ourselves. And boy, there is so much power in learning how to ask for help. So if that's something that you're looking for, you'd like to get a speaker, just let me know. You can go out to my website. You can check out more on the power of asking for help, and you can reach out to me from my website to learn more as well. But today we're going to continue on a little bit of a theme that we've been on over the last month or so. And it really gets back to, as I mentioned last week and weeks prior, we're building towards the American Family Renaissance Summit. Why the American Family Renaissance? Well, in my worldview of things, we need to get back to God, family, and country. We really need to get back to some basic core values in this country and how we come alive as men. What is our role as men in that, in the family, and raising strong children? And so let's talk about that. Now, today, I'm going to use the word discipline, and I realize that could get a few people bent out of shape. But, discipline, the standards, discipline, standards, and love, how a father builds strength in his children. It's really, really important. So we're going to talk about that today. And hey, why waste any time? Let's charge through. So let me ask you something straight out of the gate here. Do your children respect your leadership, or do they just enjoy your approval? Because there's a big difference. We start talking in that area right there. There's a real difference. In today's culture, many fathers have drifted towards approval and away from leadership. We want our kids to be like us. We want peace in the house. We don't want conflict, right? So we lower our standards. Oftentimes we overlook behavior, we delay correction, and we call it love. Newsflash, it ain't. Because love without discipline does not build strength. Now, listen, I'm not talking, the discipline that I'm talking about here is not out, spanking your kids, abusing them, that type of thing. That's not what I'm talking about here, But and we're going to get more into this as we roll into this, but love without discipline does not build strength. It builds confusion, it builds instability, and eventually it builds regret. So, what is the cultural lie about discipline? Well, right now, discipline has been misrepresented. I don't think there's any doubt. It's been labeled harsh, too aggressive, and outdated. So, fathers, what do they do? They step back, right? Because we're passive, right? The passivity of Adam. It's part of our DNA. Men become passive. They avoid hard conversations. They hope things work themselves out. But again, newsflash, no, that it doesn't work that way. And Scripture doesn't leave room for it. In Hebrews 12, it tells us something very powerful. The Lord disciplines those he loves. Man, read the Old Testament and tell me if that's not true. Let that sink in. The Lord disciplines those he loves. God disciplines. And he does it because he loves. So if we remove discipline from parenting, we're not becoming more loving. We're actually becoming less aligned with God's ultimate design. So discipline is not control. It's actually formation. It's a part of the family formation, and we have to redefine what discipline really is. So discipline is not about control. It's about that family formation. It's about shaping a life. It's about guiding children away from destruction and toward purpose. So I was out online, found a great article on Focus on the Family, their website, focusonthefamily.com, and found an article from February of this year by Chip Ingram, and he puts it this way, and we're going to use a lot of his information today because I enjoyed what that article had to say about discipline because it's pretty powerful. Biblical discipline is more than correcting behavior. It's a loving, intentional process rooted in God's character. Now, doesn't that just change everything? This is not about behavioral management. This is about raising a man, raising a woman, raising someone who can stand in truth when the world is unstable. So again, we're going to use this article that I found on Focus on the Family with Chip Ingram. He is a pastor and CEO of Living on Large. And what I'm going to use here and refer to are 5 biblical discipline characteristics that he wrote about. This was posted on February 16th of 2026 on Focus on the Family. And so we're just going to work our way through these 5 here because I think they make a tremendous amount of sense. So number 1, the necessity of discipline to deter destruction. So Hebrew 12 makes something very clear. Undisciplined lives drift toward destruction. Now that's not harsh. That's reality, okay? As a father, your job is not just to observe your child's life, it's to guide it. So think about it this way. If your child is driving a car toward a cliff, do you sit quietly because you don't want to upset them? Or do you grab the wheel? I don't know about you, but I'm grabbing the wheel. You grab it, you slam on the brakes, and you intervene. And yes, they might get mad. If it's my son, he'd be pissed. But anger in the moment is far better than destruction in the future. Wouldn't you agree? So a lot of parents today are afraid of making their kids upset. But listen carefully. If your child's emotional reaction controls your leadership, you've handed authority to the child. And guess what? That's dangerous. So a 5-year-old says, I don't love you anymore, and the father backs off discipline. That's not compassion. That is surrender, friends. And strong fathers understand something. Temporary frustration is a part of long-term formation. Discipline is really an expression of love. And this is where most people miss it. Discipline is not the opposite of love. It is an expression of love. So a father who disciplines is saying to their children, I care too much about your future to let you just drift. Now, you may not like it in the moment, These things often taste bad in the moment, but you will respect it in the long run, won't you? How many coaches have you had in your lifetime in athletic things you were a part of? Or maybe it was a piano teacher or a singing teacher, and you were like, they gave you something in the moment and you just couldn't stand them. But now to this day, maybe 20, 30, 40 years later, you're still talking about that gift they gave you. And they did their job. And more importantly, when you do it, you will have done your job. So, number two, the means of discipline, words and action. Biblical discipline includes both words and actions. So Hebrews 12 points back to Proverbs where two ideas are present. Correction through words, correction through consequences. You need both. Words without action become noise, and action without words become confusion. So a father must explain the standard, communicate the expectation, and enforce the consequences when needed. And what this creates is clarity, and clarity creates security. So children thrive in environments where boundaries are clear, not because they enjoy the limits, but because limits make life predictable and safe. So the number three, the motive of discipline is love, not control. Let's get to the heart of it here. Why do we discipline? Not to control behavior, not to protect our ego, not to prove authority, but we discipline because we love. Hebrew 12 says God disciplines us for our good, that we may share his holiness. Now that's the model. It's for their good. And here's something that will challenge you. In studies of troubled youth, many said they believed their parents didn't love them because there were no boundaries. Now let that sink in. See, we think giving another chance shows love, but repeated lack of discipline actually communicates, I don't care enough to lead you. Children just don't want approval. They want structure. They want consistency, and they want to know this is right, this is wrong, and this matters. Really important stuff. Consistency builds trust. And here's where most fathers struggle, right? That consistency. We start strong, then we relax, then we compromise. And our children pick up on that instantly. They learn, hey, how far can I push this guy? When will dad cave in? And what are the real consequences? See, kids are not stupid. They get it. They understand. They're watching and observing you. They are highly observant. And they learn your patterns. And when that discipline is inconsistent, authority weakens. But when the discipline is consistent, guess what? Respect grows, trust builds, and leadership is strengthened. So number 4, the goals of discipline, teaching obedience that becomes internal. So discipline is not about control forever. It's about training for independence. So at first, discipline becomes external. Do this, don't do that. But over time, it becomes internal. I choose this because it's right. I live this way because it aligns with who I am. That's the goal, to move from obedience out of fear to obedience out of trust. Obedience rooted in love. When a child begins to choose what is right without being told, that's when discipline has taken root. That's character forming. And 5, the 5th one here, the result of discipline. Short-term pain for what? Long-term strength, right? So let's be honest. Discipline is not easy. We all know that. It's uncomfortable, but that's where we learn. It's emotional, and it is often inconvenient. And Hebrews 12 says it clearly. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Imagine that. It says it right there in the Bible. There it is. Painful. But then comes the promise. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Short term pain, long term strength. Short term resistance, long term respect. So the question is not, does my child like this right now? The question really is, will he thank me later? All right. Right through the lens of a father. So, I wanted to bring these 5 characteristics. I thought they were well written. I love the way Chip Ingram laid them out. Again, I came across this article on focusonthefamily.com. And I love how he brought to light these 5 characteristics of discipline, because I think so much of the time, this idea of discipline gets taken completely out of context. And I'll tell you this: there have been moments as a father where my discipline towards my children wasn't received well. Right? Frustration, pushback, even words like "that's not fair." Haven't we all been through that as a father? We probably said it to our father. And in those moments when I heard those things, I had to remind myself, this is not about, a winning moment, because it's not about winning and losses at that point. It's about really being fair and equitable and helping guide your children towards success. This is about shaping a life. And I remember hearing something years ago that really stuck with me. Don't ask if your child likes your discipline. Ask if they will love you for it later. How about that? Now, that perspective really changes everything, because you stop parenting for comfort at that point and you start leading for impact. And let's face it, standards build strength. Let's talk a little bit about standards. Children rise or fall to the standards set in your home. No standards equals confusion. Clear standards equals strength. And standards say, this is who we are. This is how we live. And this is what we value. And without standards, children they just drift into whatever's easiest. And with standards, they grow into who they were created to be. Now, this always plays out over time, and it requires a tremendous amount of patience and perseverance. But if you're planting seeds, you got to water it, give it enough sunlight, fertilize it in order to allow it to grow. And love and discipline, they really do need to stay together. That's what we're talking about here, because culture separates them. They pull it apart, and they talk about things that are just not applicable. God unites them. Love without discipline equals weakness. Discipline without love equals harshness. But together, they produce strength. They produce fruit. And a father really needs to be both. He needs to be firm and compassionate, clear and caring, strong and steady. Because that combination really builds trust, and trust builds influence, doesn't it? So here's my final challenge to you, man. Your role is not to be your child's best friend. Your role is to be their leader, to guide them, to correct them, to prepare them, to love them enough to hold the line. Because one day, they will walk into the world without you. And what you built into them is what will show up. And it will either hold or it will collapse. So ask yourself, am I building strength or am I avoiding discomfort? Am I leading with love and standards, or am I settling for approval? Because the future of your child is not shaped by comfort. It is, in fact, shaped by discipline, by standards, by love that is willing to stand firm. And that's how fathers build strength. And that's how we raise the men and women ready for life. And isn't that what you're after? Well, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. There's nothing like a little conversation about discipline. It's not something that the world wants to talk about anymore. And usually, if it comes up, it's due to a lack of discipline, and let the finger pointing commence at that point. Now, if you'd like to talk about this, if just reach out to me. You can send me an email at mike@truemanlifecoaching.com. You can go out to my website at truemanlifecoaching.com. My calendar is out there and readily available to have a conversation with you about this. And again, I think this is all part of creating great American values of God, family, and love. These simple, fundamental things that are critically important to us bringing back the American family renaissance and having our American families number one right there under God, right? And so let me know your thoughts on this. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please go out and leave me a great review on your favorite podcast channel. And I always enjoy being here with you, and I enjoy these great conversations. And if there's something you'd like to hear me talk about, hey, send me an email. Again, I'm Mike@truemanlifecoaching.com. We'll see if we can work through that topic for you. Well, until next week, please have your best day ever. Just go out and have your best day ever. Don't make it mediocre. Make it your best. God bless you, and thank you for listening.